Money is leaving Canada record fast. $80 billion dollars just left the country, gone in the first half of this year alone. That's not a typo. I didn't mess that up. That's the biggest capital outflow we've seen in more than a decade. And if you think that has nothing to do with homeownership, think again. Because when that much money leaves, confidence leaves with it. And confidence, it drives everything from mortgage rates to housing prices. So the real question isn't why money's leaving, it's what the smart Canadians are doing while everyone else freezes. And that's exactly what I'm about to show you. That's the hidden exodus. And it's real. It's what the headlines are not showing. But before you panic, there's another side to this story because when big money pulls back, opportunity doesn't disappear, it just shifts. And the Canadians who understand that shifts are quietly setting themselves up to win. Homeownership in Canada is not dead, but let's be honest, the pulse is weak. For years, politicians promised affordability, banks promised stability, and the media promised rate cuts any day now. Meanwhile, 80 freaking billion dollars quietly left Canada, not in theory, in cold, hard cash gone. The single number tells you everything about confidence right now. Confidence is cracking, the market's splitting in two. On one side, people are frozen, waiting for perfect timing. And on the other side, a smaller, smarter group quietly are making moves while everyone else refreshes rate headlines. And that's the group we're going to talk about today. Sales, they're technically up year over year, but context matters. We're seeing record new listings, the steepest 1 month price drop in over a year. National prices are still about 21% below the 2022 peak. Not a crash, but not a recovery either by any means. And under the surface, the buyer pool looks nothing like it used to. A few years ago, the first-time home buyers made up nearly 40% of sales. Now, in most major urban cities in Canada, that they're barely 1 in 10. Our national homeownership rate has slipped to around 66%, down from almost 70 a decade ago. So yes, the dream isn't dead, but it's definitely not evolving. Today's buyer, they're not the textbook millennial couple with perfect credit, a 20% down payment. Today's buyer is older, more strategic. They've seen the last cycle and they're focused on control, not hype. They're tired of rent roulette. They're done living at the mercy of another renewal notice or rent hike. They want stability, not headlines. And that mindset shift is what separates the people who wait for permission from the people who build a plan. That's who's really buying today in 2025. Foreign investors, they're pulling back. Institutional money, it's extremely cautious. Even Canadians themselves are diversifying away, buying more US assets, chasing higher yields and stronger growth south of the border. At the same time, our government is borrowing heavily and our banks are loading up on government bonds instead of lending to small businesses. That's not a picture of booming confidence. It's a signal that capital, the lifeblood of growth, is playing defense. But here's the paradox. Opportunity often hides in these defensive moments because when capital leaves, competition is going to shrink. When competition shrinks, motivated sellers will appear. And when the motivated seller appears, that's where the next wave of wealth gets built. The smartest buyers I'm seeing right now in my business understand that full-heartedly. They're not chasing perfect timing. They're buying strategically into the dip. They focus on cash flow first, appreciation second, and structure above all. In Vancouver, benchmark prices sit in the mid $1.4 million range, down about 3% from last year. Detached homes have finally dipped under that long watched 1.9 million mark. Inventory's up, sales are down, listings are staying on the market longer. First time participation, about 1 in 10, I guess. That's very thin. Calgary, different story, holding stronger, but the edges are softening. Average prices hover around the mid 600,000s and inventory is creeping higher. Some of the frothier segments, pre-con, suburban luxury, are giving back ground first. In the GTA, detached and low-rise homes still imply household incomes north of $250,000, plus six-figure down payments. That's huge. So the household has a combined income of over 250,000, and their down payment is not 5%, it's six figures, so $100,000 and more. And even with rates easing towards the mid threes, payments are still higher than most buyers' comfort zone. So what's keeping the market alive? There's two things. The first one is demographic, and the second one is necessity. We still have a massive immigration number, even with tighter temporary residence rules, and life events don't stop because rates rise. In my business, I talk to people daily. People getting married, divorced, have kids, move for work, take care of parents. There's the real demand, not investor speculation. The people buying today are doing it for lifestyle and control, not a quick flip. And those moves they normally tend to age well because over 10 years, structure and consistency will always outperform timing. Now, let's talk about confidence or the lack thereof, because that's the hidden story underneath all of the charts. Foreign investors sold more Canadian securities this year than in any period since 2007. And at the same time, household debt hit record highs. So while investors are de-risking, families are stretched thinner than ever. That's why smarter Canadians are playing offense a bit differently in 2025. They're buying with their real comfort zone, not the number the bank spits out. They're running their budgets 1% to 2% higher than today's rates to stress test their future selves. They're locking in rates early, 120 to 150 days before closing, and having me reshop it right before possession. That simple move can save thousands. They're choosing flexibility over flash. Prepayment options matter, portability, penalty structure. Those matter more today than the rate decimal, because this market doesn't reward gamblers. It's going to reward planners. So if you're buying, start with the payment you can live with, not the rate the media hypes. If you're trading homes, sell first to protect yourself from carrying two mortgages. And if you're stretching, use the latter approach. Buy what fits today, trade up later. If you're not ready yet, that's okay. Build your runway, automate your savings, pay down high interest debt, prepare for the opportunities instead of waiting for permission from the headlines. If you're selling, play offense. Price for today's buyers, not yesterday's comparables, because you're always going to lose. Stage your home, pre-inspect it, and offer flexible dates. Small details win big when buyer pools are thin. And remember, bigger discounts often appear higher up the ladder, which can actually make moving up easier. Who should wait? If your budget doesn't pass the stress test, keep renting and saving. If your job or city, it feels unstable right now, stay flexible. And if your investment plan relies on quick appreciation, pause and make sure the income math works first. Who should act in this market? If rent instability is wrecking your family plan, buy something you can hold 7 to 10 years. If a life event like a baby, a new job, or relocation is driving your decision, focus on fit and not fear. Negotiate hard, structure smart, and think long term. And if you're a move up buyer who can sell first at a decent price, this market still works in your favor, because even if you sell for a little less, you're probably going to buy for less too. And that gap matters more than any headline you'll read online. Here's the mindset shift I want you to take away. Stop asking if there's the perfect time. Start asking if the move fits your life, your cash flow, and your decade-long plan. Stop chasing the single lowest rate. Start building the right mortgage structure, one that adapts when the economy doesn't. Stop waiting for headlines to give you confidence and start running a plan that puts you and your family back in control, because the goal, it's not to time the market, it's to own your plan. And that's how Canadians win in any cycle. When you're done here, check out my last video, the not so balanced Canadian budget, and what Ottawa's $280 billion debt trick really means for homeowners. I've linked it right up here. Go watch that next. It ties the whole story.